Hello, hello. Whoever's there, let me know who it is. So as everybody's jumping on, if you saw the videos, tell me the two videos I did the first week and the second week. Did you do your affirmations? And did you do your list last week after that one? I just wanted mostly to check in, see how everybody's feeling halfway through the month, and also just to see if you had any questions about those exercises, because they're super key. So I want to make sure that we're not, y'all aren't afraid to ask me if you have questions. I'm just going to assume that, okay, this is your first live. Welcome, welcome. So for the month of July, wow, we're in the month of July. For the month of July, we are talking about overcoming, breaking through fear. Okay, so basically, I have set up 6 months worth of transformational focuses. And this is the first month, so you're jumping in at a good time. You can't really get anywhere in life unless you overcome fear, right? And I think especially as somebody who has something creative that they want to do, or something they're super passionate about and just don't know how to make it happen in the world, there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear for everybody, but especially if there's something you really, really want to get out there into the world and you're struggling to make it happen. And we can be our own worst enemies in that way. So I definitely wanted to start with the basics. So the first week we talked about grounding ourselves in abundance. Of course, abundance basically means, the dictionary would say, having more than you need, having more than enough, so much that you need to give some away. And that is exactly where we all want to be. You know, I don't think that there are many people who don't want to have enough that they could give it away to people, right? A lot of us are doing our passions because we really feel like it makes the world a better place, that it helps other people. And so that's where the sense of abundance comes. Now, basically, the main concept here is that abundance is the opposite of a fear of lack, a fear that I don't have what I need, or I don't have what I most want. And when you feel that you don't have what you need or you don't have what you want, your brain hears life or death situation. Your brain thinks that this is an emergency. And so your brain will go into fight or flight, and that will immediately make you fearful, and it will stop your normal body functions, and it will stop your brain from functioning normally, and stop you from being able to make good decisions because you're just trying to stay alive, right? And obviously what we're doing is not just trying to stay alive. What we're doing is wanting to thrive, wanting to really, really find the way to be in alignment with the universe, in alignment with our passions, in alignment with what we believe we were put on the earth to do. So that is why we want to get away from fight or flight. That is why we want to pull back as far away as we can from that. And the way to do that is to decide that I'm okay, I'm more than okay, I'm great, I'm even amazing right now. So guys, as you jump on, let me know who it is. So basically, that is just a question of a mental shift. You either feel like you don't have what you need already, and you need something else to make you happy or to make you fulfilled, or you feel like, you know what, I'm actually fine. I would be fine if I didn't have anything else. And if you can get to that place, that is where you will really start to see growth and change. The fact that we did one exercise where we wrote down in the Creativity Club, where I asked you guys to say, what are 3 things that you like to do for self-care, right? And almost everybody, I think everybody, our 3 things that we like to do for self-care are not expensive things, right? It was like sit at the beach, take a bubble bath, read a book, have a glass of wine with friends, you know, basically having quiet time, peacefulness. And so if what we really crave is peacefulness and connection with other people, and if that isn't expensive, and if we understand that, grab hold of that rather than trying to grab hold of things, then you free yourself, right? If you realize all I really want is to have peace, to feel like I'm doing the best that I can, that I'm giving back to the world, and be able to connect with other people, then you're free of all of those other needs that make you feel a sense of lack. So I hope that that makes sense to you guys, and gets us all on the same page as far as abundance goes. So the first thing that we did at the first week was to create our affirmations. And I would love, if people are on who did that, for you to say at least one or two of the affirmations. Of course, I have 3. And the way that you do an affirmation, I have peace and calming here. I've always got an oil somewhere. So you would take an oil. The oils for this month that I'm using are abundance, hope, and motivation. You take an oil, put it in the palm of your hand, rub it in there. Breathe in deep. And the reason, of course, that we inhale them for the aromatherapy, as Brittany and I were actually just talking about aromatherapy jewelry, the reason that we inhale them is because they go directly into the brain, into the limbic system of the brain, which is right in the center, and that is the emotional core of the brain. It's the part of the brain that is not logic-based, is not word-based, is not anything. It's emotion-based, holds your memories, and is affected by the sense of smell. So you think about cinnamon, reminds you of apple pie. You think about, well, for me, actually the motivation oil is my new favorite. It reminds me of the beach. It reminds me of sunscreen and like pool toys and a little bit of chlorine and like a sea breeze. And so that immediately, I almost cry a little bit when I breathe it in, because it just makes me so happy, that smell. And that's what we're doing. We're actually physically affecting our brain, and which is going to help you to not only calm down in the sense of peace and calming, which is tangerine, orange, ylang ylang, patchouli, and blue tansy. All are very calming oils. Not only that, but also get you in this mind frame of away from fear and towards the positive. So these oils are actually really blended for that particular thing. So abundance, or opposite of lack, that we talked about, my personal one is I release the trapped emotion of apprehension, so fear that I won't be able to have enough. I release the trapped emotion of apprehension, which no longer serves me in a positive and productive manner. I release the trapped emotion of apprehension, which no longer serves me in a positive and productive manner. And you say that 3 times, and then you say, I choose, I believe, I manifest. So I choose, and you pick your own sentence here, I choose gratefulness for my success and growth. I choose gratefulness for my success and growth. I choose gratefulness for my success and growth. I believe in my success and growth, and I manifest success and growth. So you're saying, I am releasing this emotion of apprehension that I won't be able to have what I need. I'm releasing that fear. Not even that it was a bad emotion, that it's an emotion that no longer serves me, because I realize now I have what I need. And then you're going to choose abundance, believe in abundance, manifest abundance. And that's different for everyone what you feel abundance is. But for me, it's a sense of gratefulness for the success that I'm seeing in life and in business, and for seeing growth, right? It's not saying I've made it. It's by no means saying that I'm at some sort of a pinnacle. Oh, hey, Don, how are you? Click through so I can see you on the actual live video. Like click through to Lula Essentials. So it's not, I'm not saying I have abundance because I've made it to where I want to be when I'm 75. This is a really key thing. I'm not saying that I have abundance because I've made it. I'm saying I have abundance because I realize that I am where I need to be. I am moving forward, and I'm happy with that, right? So who has an abundance, your abundance affirmation that you want to share with us? People keep popping on and off, so let me know who you are when you jump on. Hey, Dawn. Dawn, tell us what your affirmation was. I know you have one. Dawn, I don't know if you have been able to come up with yours yet. And somebody is texting me. That's funny. So my affirmation for abundance is realizing I am exactly where I need to be in my journey. I don't need to be any farther. And as I've talked about in both of the live videos, I've discovered this month that one of my biggest issues is impatience. It's not that I don't think I'll get where I want to be. It's not that I don't think that I will have what I need. It's that I don't have it right now. And I want to have it right now. And I work really hard, So I feel like if I just am working hard, then I should already have it. But that's just not the way that it works. And embracing the journey, which I've known for years is the thing you should do, I'm ready to do that, to embrace the journey. So that is what I am doing through that affirmation. The hope, the second affirmation was what we talked about last week, right? Hope, which is the opposite of dread, of believing that something bad will happen or believing that you're in a good situation now and you'll lose it. Hope is the opposite of dread. It's also the opposite of envy and opposite of confusion. So the opposite of envy, which means that if I have hope in that I will have even more and more and more abundance in life, then I'm not worried about somebody else having abundance. I'm not worried about somebody having another booming jewelry business. I'm not worried about somebody having a Ferrari or having a really nice apartment that I want. Because I'm just happy that they're abundant because I know that I will get my good things. Not all good things are my good things, but I will get my good things. And confusion, which really hits home for me, is the idea that if I don't know that everything is going to be okay and that I'm going to get my abundance, I'm just going to continue to have abundance, then I start to think, what's the right thing to do? Okay, what's the best thing here? Okay, should I do this or should I do that? What should I spend my time on? And that is basically a giant time suck, right? The more time that you spend wondering if you're doing the right thing, the more time you're wasting. And so just knowing there's no perfect path. All of the water is going to make it from the river into the ocean eventually. And so you don't need to be worrying about which piece of water you're on trying to get to the ocean. Just head in that direction is a big deal. So those are the two things that we've covered so far. Last week I asked you guys to write a list of what you want your future to look like. This is your plan, right? This is what my abundance in the future will look like. And then on the other side of that list, I had you guys write what's your excuse for why you can't get that, right? Obviously, I'm telling you that you can, but what is your excuse for why you can't? I'm going to give you all a minute to somebody give me one of the things that you wrote on the left-hand side, or just something you think of now if you haven't done it yet. What is something you really, really want in life, and what's an excuse you're giving yourself for why you can't have that? I'll give you all a second for somebody to volunteer that for me. Forward progress in all businesses consistently. Your excuse is not enough time. Is it not enough time to do everything, or is it not enough time you feel like you're stopping and starting? Feeling like you're stopping and starting. Okay. I would ask you two questions. The first question is, what is it that makes you stop? Part B to that is, what is it that makes you start again? And the second question is, how much time do you spend worrying about that versus doing work? Distractions make you stop. Okay. Tell me if this seems pertinent. I was thinking about this the other day. So I used to not be a squirrel person, right? Like the kind of person that all of a sudden had a thought and then had another thought and then had another thought. That wasn't me. I was pretty much just always acting more in my left brain, staying in the safety zone of doing exactly what I needed to do, what I was supposed to do, following the rules, one thing at a time, because I wanted success, and success meant doing things one thing at a time. But I also was totally unfulfilled creatively, right? And so as I've been pushing the creative side of myself, I have had a lot more of those squirrel moments like, ooh, wouldn't this be a good idea? Ooh, but this other thing. And the thing about that is that is the way to be creative. That's the way the creative mind works. And so if you are willing to know that that's going to happen, then in your case, if it's family obligations, right? I mean, it's stuff you have to do. But, I have to go to Trader Joe's and work a couple of days a week. I had a lunch meeting today, and then I went and I did coaching this afternoon. And neither of which are technically on my list of things to get done today, right? So there are things that you need to do and things that you want to do. Obviously, you want to spend time with your family. Here's what I would say. What I would say is, before you do those things, you say, okay, I'm going to go do those things. Let me take 5 minutes, and I want to write out the exact next step I want to take in the business when I get back to it. So for me, because I do this mostly, like if I'm trying to write a blog post, then I'll have ideas for like 5 other blog posts, or an idea for something to put in the creativity club, or I'll realize that I haven't done the laundry or whatever. And so I just stop and I write down whatever the thought is, whatever the thing that is super important right this second, but I don't have time for it, write it down in my notebook, and then I come back to that. So for you, you might even have like whiteboards that say, you know, for the sewing business, for the essential oils, even for family, if you have stuff that you feel like you're having to put off, and just write down whatever the next step you want to take and put it there. And that might get rid of some of the fear of having to start the car and put your foot on the gas as you get back into it. Does that make sense? So what if you don't get back to it? Well, unless it is life or death, the world won't end. And you need to have grace with yourself. And there are great ideas that I have written down that the world does not know about yet, because I haven't shared them yet because they're still in that book. But how much better is it for them to be in that book? Hey, Allison, how much better is it for them to be in that book than for them to be nowhere? For them to have flitted through my brain and then left, right? You could have a fantastic idea for a spring line, but it's summer. But your idea is for a fantastic spring line, which is too late for that now. You're going to have to wait almost an entire year, right? At least 6 months before you start planning that spring line. But does that mean that it's not important and it's not totally worth doing? Of course not. And so you need a place where you can write that stuff down, so that you don't waste time saying, oh, I wish I'd gotten to do that. I'm going to lose so much business because I didn't get to do that spring line. I just know I am, because I should have done that. Why did I not do that then? I would have made so much more money, right? And your brain can go and go and go and go and go and tell you, as you're trying to get done whatever you're doing, oh, but you should be doing this other thing. You should be doing this other thing. You should be doing this other thing. And I'm by no means saying that does not happen to me, right? Many people can attest that does happen to me, but I'm aware of it. I know when I'm doing it. I know when it's happening. And so that's your first step, right? To know when you're being unhelpful to yourself. And it's basically, you're not living in the moment. You're not living in who you are. You're living inside of this little part of yourself that is your inner critic. The inner critic that's saying, you don't have time for this. You don't have time for this. You don't have time for this. Or you can't get it all done. Or you're going to forget. Or why didn't you do that already? That little inner critic is not helping you, right? You think that he's the smart guy because he's being a critic, but he's not. He's keeping you from getting where you need to go. And so that, if you can realize, just realizing that voice is not the boss, that voice is stopping you from getting where you want to go, that is the first step. You may feel like you have to listen to that voice sometimes, like it is life and death. Like, sometimes you just need to cry. Sometimes you just need to feel like I can't do it, and that's okay. But when you're feeling those emotions, realize that those are emotions that you're feeling, and they're not a truth. I hope that makes sense. Anybody else have a thing they want to share? For all of you guys who just joined, we're talking about the exercise that I gave everybody, where I wanted you to write on the left-hand sheet of a piece of paper everything that you want in life. And I mean, obviously, success in business, but I mean really, really detail-oriented. Like, I really want to have a clean, functional, beautiful apartment full of plants and all of the things that make me happy, and books and comfortable chairs to sit in, and nice wine and friends, all of those things. And the more detail you can be, the more that you will live in that story and not in the fear story. Okay, so Don, you nailed it with the spring line theory, except in the past I've wanted to just quit because my timing is always off. Right, so that's because you keep giving up, actually. What you're doing is you're saying, my timing is always off, so I'm just going to not do anything. Well, then you can't keep your brain from having good ideas, but it's always having them late, right? So you gotta go ahead and give yourself till next year. Sometimes it's just that you can't do all of those things well, and so you need to not do some of them. Like, I went through different phases. I tried to do some of the popular things that I thought people were buying with my jewelry line, but I really didn't like doing it. And it was like making the same thing over and over again. So I couldn't, took me longer to try and sell that because it wasn't about the crystal healing power. It wasn't about intentions. It was just about like pretty things. And so it would take me forever to labor over this thing that I felt like I was supposed to do because that's what people said you should do to sell a lot of jewelry. And that was a huge waste of time because I should have been focusing on the thing that is unique about me, right? Loving crystals, loving crystal healing, loving intentional living, being able to marry that to the essential oils, all of that stuff. If I'd spent my time on those things that really, really I would want to do even if nobody paid me, then I would get farther. So don't let people tell you you need to have elf stuffed animals for Christmas. If that is just going to be like the worst toil, like the dentist pulling your teeth to make some elves for Christmas, don't do it. Why? There's got to be something else that somebody will want to buy for Christmas. Do you know what I mean? This can apply to everything. It could be, so let's say, Ida, you do the crochet, and people are telling you, well, you really need to have summery crochet things. Now, you could say, you're totally right. I'm absolutely going to do that. Or you could say, I have no idea. I don't want to make any of the things that they're suggesting. And so, hey, Stephanie, I don't want to make any of the things that they're suggesting. And so I'm just going to take the financial hit right now and prep my heart out for fall and winter. And I'm going to make all of the money that I need to make and be set for next year and have a much better next year. Let me just see what y'all are saying. Okay. Laura, I'm trying to make inventory for my shop, but thinking it needs to be winter, so I have to make photograph list, but I feel like it needs to be now and I missed it. Do I just focus on spring? I don't think at least for winter, that you have missed it. I mean, I am not thinking about crochet right now. I can tell you that, right? It's like 107 degrees. Well, it's actually not today. It's in like the 80s, but it has been so hot. Nobody is thinking about fall right now. So I wouldn't worry about that. Laura, I think that your mantra should be, am I overthinking this? Maybe it already is your mantra, but you know that about yourself, which is the first place. There are a lot of people who overthink themselves and they have no idea that they're doing it. But I think if you took a piece of paper and you said, reasons why I'm overthinking this, reasons why this is not overthinking, this is true, and you wrote them all down, then you would realize almost all the time that you are overthinking. You need to take some deep breaths. Okay, see, Ida says you still have time. Everybody is trying to get ahead of the curve. However, you should not be afraid to do what you need to do now. Now, maybe you don't make as many pieces as you would like to make. Maybe you know that you can only make, I'm totally going to pull numbers out of the air, 10 pieces in time to have them photographed, good listings for fall, right? Don't try and make 20 because everybody else is making 20. Make 10 pieces and make them amazing, and give yourself that extra time to prepare for winter or prepare for spring, right? This is not, every week is not a finish line. And I think that sometimes we feel that way, that if I didn't make, I want to make $1,500 this month, I didn't make it, I should just quit. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because you don't know, there could be a $6,000 month 6 months from now, and that would have made up for all of this heartache. But if you don't keep going, you need to be willing to have a month where you are prepping for things, a month where you are getting ready for things, a month where you're taking photographs and you might not be making money because you were setting yourself up for success. The way that you cannot set yourself up for success is to tread water and keep going under over and over and over again because you're just worried that you missed it. And Ida, like you said, you're not going to unicorn anything. Like, if you don't think that the unicorn thing is cool, like, stay out of the way. Let those people have their abundance. I really believe this. Let them sell unicorn things. Why do you need to take away from them if you think it's dumb, right? You sell something that they're not selling, and you get your abundance from that. I did a couple of metal pieces because that was like a thing that was going on, right? Metallic. I thought, I hate that. That just seems like not Like, where's the power here? And there's no crystals. And so I made a couple pieces, made no money on them. Nobody bought them, probably because I was not excited about them. And then I was like, all right, I'm over that, right? Somebody else, all the people who love metal, they deserve to be selling metal things, and I'm going to sell crystal things, and that's totally fine. I'm gonna give you all a story I thought about earlier today. So when I was trying to think, when was I struggling with finding my why? Because this Tuesday, we're going to be talking about finding our why. So when was I struggling with my why? I took the month of March of this year. I had a good January and a good February. That was my first January and February. And I thought, okay, I could keep pushing this, and I could try and make as much in March as possible. But everybody's telling me I need to know my why, and I have no clue what it is. Zero clue. I make jewelry. That is it. I don't really know. I mean, I don't really know what the reason is behind it. I just know that I make it and I like it, and I want other people to like it, but I don't understand how I'm different. And something inside of me said, if you don't figure this out now, then when are you going to figure it out? When am I going to figure it out? And in August, September, October, when I have all of these orders for things that I don't like making, and I'm struggling to come up with listing, reasons why people should buy it. So I just told myself, I'm going to make no money this month, and I am going to figure out my why. All of my business hours are going to be figuring out why I am doing this, why I am here, why I am different, why people should buy from me. And I made a little bit of money, but I literally put zero effort into it. And by the end of the month, I think it was maybe the 23rd of the month, I had a mini emotional breakdown because I was like, I made no money. I'm going to fail. No one likes my business. And it was okay, 6 hours later, I stopped myself out of it. And I was like, yeah, you made no money because you said you didn't want to make money. Why are you complaining that you got what you wanted? But you also got what you wanted because you figured out your why. So I took that entire month and said, screw it. I'm just going to get a foundation, and I'm not going to worry about this other stuff. And that's why I'm here doing these live calls, because I figured out in March what was so important to me was wellness, right? Mental, emotional, and physical wellness, and helping other people find purpose and fulfillment. That is what I wanted to do. The teaching element really came into it. And then I worked several months trying to figure out what was this going to look like. But some months it's not about making money, it's about figuring things out. And so that's the hard part about being an entrepreneur. I used to be a music teacher back in the day, and so I remember that too, right? There are months where you make a lot of money and months where you don't make a lot of money. And the left brain side needs to be figuring out, how do I not spend all of my money this month? If I made $2,000, but next month, I'm probably gonna make $500 based on last year's numbers. So I need to not spend all of this. I hope that makes sense. That thinking of your year, 5 or 6 years is probably too far to think. But thinking of the year as this arc, and you're gonna make more money in September, October, November, December, but how much money you make really depends on your why, your preparation, your passion for your product, and your willingness to work those long hours because you're so excited about doing it. And so now is your moment to be setting yourself up for that versus worrying about not making money and maybe my business is failing. This is your moment to make your business not fail. This is where it happens, not in October, November, December. That's just when you reap the benefits, right? But we're doing the sowing, the growing the crops part of this. Who else has a thing that they want to share from their list of things that they wanted to get in life, and their excuses? Because sometimes, as I said in the live call, the first time I wrote this list several months ago, I had a lot of good excuses. I thought they were great excuses. And then the last time I wrote the list, I realized I don't really have many good excuses anymore. There are things that I could be working on, and I'm using this excuse to save me the effort. And I should just do it instead of using the excuse. So either does anyone have something from their list, or affirmations. Does anybody have questions for me on how to make your affirmations? I know I've worked with some of you individually on creating them. I want to make sure that everybody, if you missed the beginning of this, you can go back when I post it and watch. But I want everybody to understand the importance of affirmations being the fact that you're going to have thoughts anyway. The way to control the thoughts is to say the positive thought enough times that you build that track in your brain, right? If you let yourself say the negative thought over and over and over again, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. If you say the positive thought over and over and over and over again, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, right? And that's why it's now easy for me to say, I release the trapped emotion of apprehension, which no longer serves me in a positive and productive manner. The first time I said that, I had to read the page every single time. Now, I can say that very quickly, my affirmation, because it's in my brain, it's very strong. So if you think about the power of that, of you saying I'm fat, or I'm stupid, or I'm no good, or I'm not worthy, I'm not talented, the fact of how easy it is for you to say that, if you could make it as easy to say, I am healthy, I am a hard worker, I am kind, I am talented, I'm beautiful. If you give strength to those positive things, what kind of a change is that going to make in your life? Because you're giving strength to something either way, right? You don't really get a choice. There's not a neutral here. You've got to think something, so you might as well think the positive thing. I think that I will jump off now, but if you have questions that you want to ask me, you want to ask me in private, you want to private message me, I'm happy to answer them there too. I know some of these, obviously some of the things you really want and you have really good excuses for are sensitive subjects. But we're on the 14th of the month, right, I believe, and I didn't want to just assume that you guys understood everything that I've talked about. I wanted to give you guys a chance to ask me questions to get clarity and to get excited about next week, because next week is about motivation. It's about the fact that it's still going to be tough. You're still going to have obstacles, but what gets you around those obstacles? And it's not just the word motivation. It is your why. It is the fact that there's no way around it. It's non-negotiable. I have to do this. So we're going to talk about that next week, but you really want to know what your abundance is, your future abundance is, that plan is, or else there's nothing to work towards. So I encourage you guys, if you haven't done it yet, go back and watch the video that came before this, and make sure that you do your lists. All right? If you have any questions, again, you want to private message me, feel free. But otherwise, I will talk to you guys soon, and on Tuesday, if not sooner. All right, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you later. Bye.